This is an article, India-Vietnam Ties from Stronger to Stronger, from the editorial, The Hindu, July 21, 2022. This is an important article from the perspective of GS Paper 2, International Relations. Now we will have a brief outlook of India-Vietnam relations in the background of 50th anniversary of their diplomatic relations. This article is a very good article as it has covered all perspective and mandates of political as well as economic relations between India and Vietnam. So let's get started. First of all, we need to understand the geographical and the strategic location of Vietnam and why it is important for India. Vietnam is a country in Southeast Asia. As we all know, China to its north, Laos and Cambodia to its west, and it shares border with Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia through South China Sea. Now, first of all, we need to understand before we start this article, what are the factors that promote us to have maritime engagement with Vietnam? The primary one, and we would later on discover various important other factors, but the primary could be to counter China's aggressive policy of expansionist, as we see, and recognizing geostrategic, geoeconomic importance of sea line beyond South China Sea. And it is very well mentioned here. More importantly, imbibing a flexible framework of engagement can contribute positively to regional stability and prosperity. Coming on to the second para, shared concern. India is essentially a maritime nation and the oceans hold the key to India's future. India's external trade over 90% by volume and 70% by value is by the sea, very dependent on the sea of its trade and commerce. Very important. India has intensified its effort to engage with maritime neighbor including Vietnam. Now, the reasons what made this tie between India and Vietnam more strengthened are India's relation with Vietnam, some of which is based on a set of historical commonalities. Now, what were those? We need to look a background of those perspective. See, 2nd century BC, two Buddhist monks, Mahajavaka and had a common culture which could easily be seen in Vietnamese art and architecture. And also, Vietnam is known for its Buddhist pagodas. We all know this. Therefore, the historical tie between India and Vietnam has always been very fruitful and flourishing. Secondly, India has always been a friend and philosopher to Vietnam, whether from the time of colonial rule of France or war against America, which is famous for America-Vietnam War. Later up, North and South unification of Vietnam. Then also we know that a popular leader, Ho Chi Minh, was a very good friend of our Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru. So these were the historic ties. India and China, as well as that between China and Vietnam. The conflict, this I will let you know later up. The strategic dimension of Indo-Vietnamese relation initiated during 1980s began unfolding in the form of structure and institutional arrangement during the 1990s. As India pursued its Act East policy, Vietnam has become a valuable partner in India's political security engagement in the Indo-Pacific region. Now let's understand this point in a big detail. When Vietnam launched its open door reform in 1986, what was it? Liberalization. Later on, India introduced Look East policy in the year 1994. This actually strengthened the relations between two countries, followed by Vietnam joined the ASEAN in 95. The point that has been mentioned for Act East policy, there was a Look East policy. Under Look East policy, India started exploring its economic integration and political cooperation in Southeast Asia. This was the agenda of India under Look East policy. Then what has happened? Look East policy, under this agenda, it was to develop security relation and to expand its area of partnership and influence so that it could balance the emerging power which was China. So Vietnam has came out as a prominent country under Look East policy. Why? Because due to its economic liberalization, it became major destination of foreign direct investment for India. Later up, that Look East policy has turned up into Act East policy in the year 2014. And in 1995, when Vietnam launched its open door policy, and in 1995, when Vietnam joined ASEAN, and because of its geostrategic location, military capabilities, and national willpower, Vietnam has emerged as a crucial partner in Southeast Asia. And in 2014, when India pursues its Act East policy, because of its historical ties and shared interest, made Vietnam a significant stakeholder in India's Act East policy. Later up in 2016, it engaged with cooperation, strategic partnership, which deals with regular intelligence exchange, joint coast guard training, counter-insurgency training. Now the ties between two countries became so strong that India approved 500 million US dollar as a defense line of credit to Vietnam, which is the largest line of credit given by India to any country. Line of credit. India and Vietnam faces territorial dispute with a shared apprehension about their common neighbor. Now there is an important thing which brought India and Vietnam together, and that was China. And this is what mentioned in this article, that China and Vietnam is of great strategic importance because of its position enabled it to control the South China Sea, a true Mediterranean of Pacific. The maritime domain therefore has become an essential element of India and Vietnam cooperation. India and Vietnam faces territorial dispute with and shared apprehension about their common neighbor with China. Now Vietnam has a dispute over Spratly Island, Paracel Island, whereas India has always been in dispute with China over Galwan, of course Uttarakhand, few areas in Uttarakhand, Sikkim and Arunachal Pradesh over line of actual control. Next is the driving force. This is the main crux of this article. This para is actually the main crux of this article, and we need to memorize the points that has been mentioned in this para for our examinations perspective. There are four key motivations behind India's growth maritime engagement with Vietnam. First, India's aspiration to counter an assertive China by strengthening Vietnam's military power. Now we need to understand this point in a bit brief. Now as we all know that China's dominance in South China Sea is a threat of commercial and strategic interest for both the countries. Because Indian Pacific region is a highly sensitive and vulnerable because of China's influence. China boosts of its economy, and the major portion of its trade runs via through South China Sea both towards the west and towards the east. Since India has 55% of its India's maritime trade passes through South China Sea, so India needs to establish its hold in the region of South China Sea and to have established bilateral relations with various countries of the South China Sea or Southeast Asian nations. Second, with India's increasing trade with East and Southeast Asia, India has begun to recognize the importance of a sea line of communication beyond its geographical proximity, which is Indian Ocean, and beyond its maritime sea line. The South China Sea occupies a significant geostrategic and geoeconomic position, resulting in India's renewed interest in South China Sea. As I have already mentioned that the India's trade is growing year by year, so it is important to establish a hold in the South China Sea in order to balance or counter China. Now here is an important thing that we need to understand. India in the past have tried to establish so many other ways, for example Quad and AQUAS, Eagle Eye. This is a coalition between Australia, India, Japan and US. But since we know that Quad has established during the time of Trump. Now, Trump is no more the president. And Australia, because of the COVID, has badly shattered its economy. Now, it needs to overcome its economy, so it is going to enhance its economy by establishing trade with China. So, we don't know, and as per my knowledge, we don't know whether Quad future is going to work or not. Same is with ECOWAS. So, this is another way to balance China's influence in South China Sea. This is an attempt to establish bilateral relations with Vietnam and with other nearby countries. Third, India desires to intensify its presence to track potential developments in the maritime domain that could affect its national interest. Now, this is again an important point we need to understand by this way. See, if you really want to counter your enemy, the best way is to track its activity. China has its satellites to track India's activity, its warships, its trade route. Similarly, India needs to develop specific strategies through scientific way, through bilateral engagement, and through various intelligence in order to track China's activity in South China Sea. So with this third point, we need to understand this thing, that it is essential to track China's activities. Fourth, the Indian Navy underlines the importance of a forward maritime presence and a naval partnership that would be critical to deter potential adversaries. India's maritime strategic interests in this region are well established, including the fact that almost 55% of India's trade with Indo-Pacific region passes through South China Sea. So for these potential adversaries, we have seen that India has established military engagements and has strengthened military ties with the Vietnam. It is because to secure its security reasons. Ever since the formal declaration of a strategic partnership in 2007 and comprehensive strategic partnership in 2016, the scope and the scale of India-Vietnam strategic and defense cooperation, particularly in the maritime domain, is deepening with a clear vision, institutional mechanism, and the necessary political support from both the governments. We need to understand the point that has been mentioned here. The signing of a joint vision for defense cooperation and a memorandum of understanding of mutual logistic support in June 22. First of all, the comprehensive strategic partnership in 2016 allows for regular intelligence exchange. We have seen here that in order to establish a control, we need to track enemies' activities. So, regular intelligence exchange, this point has been very well, this point we have seen here now. Third, India's desire to intensify track potential developments in the maritime domain to secure its national security interest. The same clause has been put into this cooperation strategic partnership. Now, the second thing is Coast Guard training and insurgency training. And USA, $100 million defense credit line has been implemented. India has also announced earlier finalization of another 500 million defense line of credit. This point I have already mentioned, and this point proves that how deep are the ties of India and Vietnam. For the first time, India has given this line of credit to this much amount of line of credit to any country. Secondly, New Delhi has also agreed to expand military training and assist the Vietnam Navy's strike capabilities. For example, it is providing comprehensive and underwater combat operation training to Vietnamese sailors. India's defense minister handed over 12 high-speed boats to Vietnam recently. A cookery class coveted is also expected to be gifted soon. With this, we need to understand another thing, that Milan, which is multinational naval exercise, in which the navies of both the countries share a stable, open, and prosperous Indo-Pacific vision. This is important. 11th Milan have concluded this year. Further, the two countries are also engaging in a wide-range practical cooperation in maritime domain through a maritime security dialogue, naval exercise, ship visit, Coast Guard cooperation, and training and capacities building, such as Indian Ocean Rim Association, the Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation, BIMSTEC, the Mekong-Ganga Cooperation, MGC, and Asian Defense Ministers Meeting Plus, and here Indo-Pacific Ocean Initiative is a maritime cooperation to counter China's influence across South China Sea and across the Strait of Malacca, because most of the trade of the China passes through the Strait of Malacca. In order to have another maritime cooperation. This Indo-Pacific Ocean Initiative has been taken. There are some other potential areas for New Delhi and Hanoi to further deepen collaboration, such as meaningful academic and cultural collaborations, shipbuilding, maritime connectivity, maritime education, research, coastal engineering, blue economy, maritime habitat conservation. Now, this is important. And advanced collaboration between maritime security agencies. Further, an important point, a very recent development that has taken place, we need to know that during the visit of India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh to Vietnam, both the countries signed a joint vision statement on the India-Vietnam Defence Partnership towards 2030. It is a beneficial logistic support agreement through which both the countries can assess each other's military facility. This is the very recent development that has been taking place.